believe we're live. We're going. I'm going to confirm over here and see how we sound. Hopefully we, after a 2-week hiatus, have our bugs worked out, back better, stronger, faster, sleeker. I don't know, whatever adjectives you
all
have.
of those things.
Yes. Yeah, we're live. Sound good.
All right, welcome everybody.
Yeah.
Hi.
Here we are.
Welcome back.
It's been 2 weeks since we did this, is that right?
2 weeks.
2 weeks?
And we had some technical issues. That one even kind of ended halfway through, and
Okay.
we learned how to unmute the microphone.
That's helpful. Well, probably what that means is that nobody's watching right now, right? It's just the three of us.
You can only hope that
It might just be the three of us, which is fine.
Might be.
either that or viewership is up because they're wondering what the train wreck is going to be this week.
Yep. Yep.
Well, welcome back. Thanks for tuning in. This is our, I don't know, we've been doing quite a few of these pastor roundtables during the pandemic.
10 weeks, 12 weeks?
Yeah. The idea was a way to interact with pastors and staff live, since our services were pre-recorded, and we thought this would be a good opportunity to do that in this unique time. So here we are. We're back because we're still not quite gathering, although we're getting close.
2 weeks ago, we just talked about, we did it last, and we were just talking before coming on here that 2 weeks ago, I guess the death of George Floyd was a day old 2 weeks ago. Is that right? And so we were scheduled tonight to talk about worship reentry, which we will talk about. But certainly a lot has happened in our society in the last couple of weeks. And I don't know, Bobby, we've watched, and our gut is kind of wrenched by watching this. Just, you want to share your gut and response?
My gut response initially is number one, heartbroken for the family, as especially just in the past 2 days, as we have seen memorial services and a funeral service back in Houston for George Floyd. But at the same time, this isn't new. You know, I think what we're really seeing is an issue that we can't continue to sweep under the rug or act like it's not there or act like it's taken care of. I think that's the bigger thing, is acting like we've dealt with that and now we can move on, instead of realizing that it's something that always continually needs to be addressed and it needs to be worked on. It's kind of like sin. We don't come to church and confess it on Sunday and say, okay, don't have to ever do that again. I'm good to go. But we come back every single Sunday and we confess. Racism is a sin, and it is something that continually has to be confessed. It continually has to be lamented, and we continually have to strive and work towards ways of breaking down any systemic racism, both individually, personally, but also larger in our society and our culture. And so, I'm heartbroken, but at the same time, I'm like, yep, we need to address this. We need to talk about it. The conversation needs to happen. I need to examine myself. I need to confess things myself as a white male in America. That's kind of where I'm at.
George Floyd, and then I still, like, it's a punch in the gut to me, the Ahmaud Arbery in Georgia, and again, these are just recent ones, but certainly there's a visceral feeling in all of our guts, and the sense that we're not over this, and we got to keep looking at it. So we've been listening a lot to African American friends, peers, pastors, and that's been important for us, just processing and working through that. And especially as a predominantly white church, it's important for us to stand up, to listen, to learn. We've been sharing the LCMS Black Clergy Caucus statement, which I think is a good, helpful start. And Daniel, that might be good to just enter that in. I think theunbrokencord.com. You can find that statement there. I think it's incredibly helpful. The LCMS Black Clergy Caucus. And when we listen, we're hearing a lot of pain. And that's important for me personally to listen to. When somebody's crying, it means there's a wound. And God forgive us for not hearing that before. and we have to confess that, and we have to listen so carefully right now. So I think we're going to talk about this more in a subsequent week. Right on our doorstep is re-entry into in-person worship, or at least a first phase of that. So we really wanted to touch on that tonight because many of you are planning or considering that. We want to address that pastorally as you maybe even think about whether I should come this weekend or not. And so we'll talk about that tonight, but we did want to address right off the bat just kind of the issues of race and justice in our country right now. And we'll continue to talk about that in this venue.
Yeah, so tune in next week and we can talk further about that.
Yeah, that specific wall.
Yep.
But yeah, I think as Pastor Jeff just said, for the rest of our time, we'd like to talk about worship reentry, which is happening in just a few days this weekend, Saturday at 5 o'clock here on the 13th, and then of course Sunday 8, 9, and 10 at Christ Memorial, and then at Reliant at 10:30. And you want to share a little bit about things here at Christ Memorial and what that's gonna.
We're gonna do it.
What should people do if people want to come to worship? What should they do, Pastor Jeff?
It's a good question.
We're excited, right?
Yeah, we're excited.
The fast is breaking. I've been thinking about this as a fast. I mean, how long has it been since you've had communion yourself? I mean,
March 22nd, maybe. We did a little thing.
Yep.
March 15th was the last time we were in person.
Yep.
So, I don't even know where to start. The short answer is, in the month of June, as a member of our church, you just need to know we are gathering for smaller, shorter worship gatherings centered on communion. And that's just going to be our approach for the month of June. And we hope to enter another phase in July, but we're just focused on the next 3 weeks. We really think at this time it's kind of hard to plan even beyond 2 weeks out. And so we're going to focus on the Lord's Supper. We haven't had that in a long time. And so we're going to be doing that in shorter, smaller bites, about 30 minutes, hopefully. I do want to address just a principle that we've entered into in this. And a key principle is we want to make sure everybody feels comfortable in our buildings. We will bend over backwards for that. So we have extensive protocol for sanitary cleanliness in our spaces. We're asking that you wear a mask when you come here. Now, I know that we've had some people say, why do I have to wear a mask? Is this overblown? And it goes back to the principle, just as your pastor, to go back to the principle, we want to bend over backwards to make sure everybody feels comfortable. And by you wearing a mask, it's not about you. You might feel comfortable licking the railings when you come in, and that's fine. You can do
Please
that if you want. But by wearing a mask, you're really doing that for your neighbor. And if you can do anything, if me wearing a mask eases somebody enough where they feel comfortable coming in, or when they're in, they feel like they can worship, we want to do that. So we're going to start, pretty tight with our protocol that includes wearing a mask. So I just want to lay out that principle because I think that's important. We met with our elders last night. We just talked about we don't want anything to divide our church. And we certainly have segments in our church, people who have different comfort levels, and we don't want this to be an issue for division. So just please don't see this as your thing, see this as your family. You're going to do this for your family.
Well, and I think that's a really good point. I think for any time, especially during this time, but any time that we come in humbly, we come in to corporately worship together in community. And I know I've been guilty of this sometimes where it's like, hey, I come in and other churches and different ministry settings I've been in over the years where I go, well, I didn't sing the song I wanted to sing. Or the pastor I wanted to hear preach. I went to visit a church on vacation one time, and a buddy of mine, the pastor friend, I was hoping to see him. He was out of town and we had a video message. And so part of me was kind of selfish, like, oh, he wasn't here, he was on vacation, and we came all this way. And it's just great to kind of just pause, take that deep breath and say, first and foremost, worship is about worshiping our triune God. But then also, how can we collectively just take that first step back? It's not going to be exactly the same. But then how can, like you said, how can we accommodate all that are able to come back and join us this weekend? Because this is a big step, and we want to be as cautious as we can.
Yeah. And we want to affirm everybody in your decision that you make. So we have people that are like, they're going to be here this weekend. That's great. We have people that just want to wait a little while. That's great. We keep doing video worship. Just keep tuning in. We have people that might not be back for a long time, and we want to meet you where you're at and serve you where you're at, and that's fine. There's no pressure from the pastors to say that we want you here this weekend. We recognize that our church has many segments, and we want to serve the whole flock.
Yeah, I think that's true, and that's what we're going to be ready to do this weekend when we gather back together, is to serve you. We hope that you come both ready to worship, but also to receive as we gather around communion, as we gather around God's gifts. And what a beautiful reminder that, this isn't just about us, but it's about others. That's what communion is about, the communion of believers. And so as we come back together, we hope that at whatever comfort level you are, that you join us, whether it be in person or with our worship services online, that we're going to continue to do. So,
well, I know I've worked with both of you this week to record some videos that we'll be emailing out, correct, just to kind of walk us through what it's going to be like here at 5252 South Lindbergh, but then also down at the Reliant campus as well. But is there some things that maybe you guys at all want to highlight, maybe that are in those videos, or in addition to just things that maybe those watching need to just be cognizant of as they come on our building? Because things will be different.
Yeah, we have we've had a great team. Maybe this is a good preface. We've had elders from our church, our pastoral staff, medical professionals have all been involved in planning this for about 4 or 5 weeks. We've been planning it because we want to do it. We want to do it well, and we want to make
Chris
sure.
Wilson, our parish nurse.
Yeah, Chris Wilson, our parish nurse, multiple nurses actually, and a nurse practitioner. So you can feel confident that we're taking every precaution necessary. And again, we want to go to the extreme of that to include as many people as possible. So that a good plan has been put in place, and again, shorter, smaller services at Christ Memorial. 100 is the number we're working with, about 100 at Reliant, 35-ish.
we can have 38 in the building, so 35 guests, not including myself and the 2 elders who will be assisting serving communion.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And it'll be a short, just to prepare you to set your expectation. You'll come, we're asking you to pre-register, so you can go to our website. If you're a member, you should have gotten an email where you can quickly register. If you don't want to mess with the computer, although you're on a computer right now, but if you don't want to mess with the computer, just call the church office. If you call the church office, they'll put your name in, register. That is simply for diffusing the numbers and spreading them across. We're not taking attendance necessarily. We may look later and kind of see who was down. We're not taking attendance. We just want to diffuse the numbers so that 300 people don't show up at one service. You'll come in, ushers will guide you. Again, if you could wear a mask, we ask that you do that. You'll be space distant. Ushers will guide you to your place. The sanctuary, you'll be socially distant. And just to set your expectation, it'll be a brief order of service. Very little singing, at least this first week. Short order confession, and again, primarily communion by family group or individual. So it won't be in a moving line, but you'll be ushered out as an individual. Maybe you're a couple or a family, and you come up, and it's pretty contactless. In other words, you'll be taking the elements, not being handed the elements. So we're taking every precaution necessary.
I know Pastor Bobby today, when recorded your prep video for Reliant, I think you said too, like with this initial going back, and we have the services streamed online, like our goal is really to attend to our members with these live in-person services, and that this maybe isn't the time to invite the coworker or somebody that doesn't know Jesus, that isn't LCMS, that doesn't believe what we believe for communion, and then they come and it's like, what are you doing here? Not that we want to maybe be in the camp of discouraging sharing the gospel and being loved and sent, but I don't know if you wanted to comment on that.
Yeah, it actually kind of came up last night in our elders conversation as we had an elders meeting, and we were talking largely about reentry. While we always want guests to come in because we believe that God's house is where He wants people to gather. With the way that we're formatting these services and what the service focusing around communion, there's not a sermon, there's not typical liturgy, there's not typical prayers. it could be an awkward time for someone to step in for the very first time. We're happy that our video services might be getting a reach and might be connecting with people that normally haven't stepped in the doors. But I would say that things will likely, we are going to continue to evaluate after these 3 weeks. Things might look different in July. I would say certainly by August, September, things are going to look different and a little bit more normal in terms of our worship service. And I think that would be a good time to bring in guests. But these very short communion-focused services could be an awkward experience for someone for the first time coming in to Christ Memorial or Reliant for a worship service. And so while we're not kicking anyone out, we're not stopping anyone at the door. At the same time, if someone is interested in checking out our church, I would continue to point them to our online services and have them engage with our online worship.
I know another point you made in the video that I think is important to say too is, though for this first week there's some limit restrictions and we're trying to get pre-sign-ups, the goal is not to keep people from signing up. I know sometimes we've got some wonderful members that have the thought to go, well, gosh, if I sign up, that's going to keep so-and-so from signing up. But I think you kind of talked about, hey, go ahead and sign up.
Yep.
If we need to add a service or we need to make some changes for next week or 2 weeks, however that works, we want to have this be as welcoming for those who are able to attend.
Yeah, if you are comfortable attending and you want to come to worship this weekend, please RSVP and sign up, because that gives us as a staff a better idea of who's willing to come back into worship. And we are willing, and Pastor Jeff said this last night, he'll stay here all day long if he needs to and commune people. I'll be at Reliant as long as I need to be to commune the people that want to come and receive communion. So if you RSVP, it helps us to know, okay, we might need to add a service either at the Reliant campus or here at Christ Memorial. I know we're actually getting close to that 35 limit already at Reliant, and that's great. Probably next week, the 21st, we're going to have to look at offering 2 services at 9:30 and 10:30. But we know that because of the RSVP. So RSVP, I've actually been encouraged because I've received text messages from people who are like, I want to come, but I also want to make sure that there's enough spots for everyone, just like you said, Daniel. That's great. I appreciate that greatly. It shows that you are willing to self-sacrifice for the sake of others. That's great. But please go ahead and RSVP, and we can add services. We can add times. I will stay and do longer services or additional services if we need to. But it helps us to know. So if we need to add a 4th service on Sunday morning at Christ Memorial, we'll do that. If we need to add a 2nd service at Reliant, we'll do that.
Yeah, we're not going to turn people away.
No.
So don't feel like that's the cap that you have to meet. So
Well, and then too, just a reminder, I think we've made this point clear, hopefully, that we do have many people that are going, gosh, I'd love to come back, but I'm not in a position or I'm not ready. We have the online service, and the way we're looking to do this, Pastor Jeff, is that you're still going to watch the sermon and the service online is really the thought too, correct?
Yeah. We asked they should really interlock for this period. So if you show up this weekend, again, short service, to the point, primarily around communion. That's great, but there's not going to be a sermon, and there's going to be very little singing. We're asking you also, kind of 2 things, to also watch the online worship. It'll coincide. And so at least for this time, we're asking you to do both. You're going to get the preached word in your home or wherever you're at, and still come for communion in these weeks.
And we're in this series for Psalms, correct?
Yep.
Can you guys kind of share and just fill us back in? Maybe we're just not all up to speed on what that series is about, and maybe too with the week off. I can't remember what we were all able to explain 2 weeks ago, but the Psalm series, for how long are we doing this for? What's really the focus beyond? We're doing 150 weeks with 150 chapters.
Psalm 119, there'll be like 10 sermons on that one. So.
Is that like 437
hours?
hours?
It's the longest chapter in the Bible.
No.
Yeah, Psalm 119. Yeah, I don't know, Pastor Bobby, weeks ago, even before Easter, I think we were planning this, and Psalms came up, and I think it came up because we were all experiencing just varied emotions and looking for a place to go with that. And the Psalms provide us, are just very, very emotional prayer. It's the prayer book of the Bible, and I think that was kind of behind our thinking of that. Is that right?
Yeah, I think we can all agree that 2020 has been a really difficult year. Pastor Jeff talks about it in his sermon that you're going to hear this weekend. It's been a heavy year, and if there's one place in Scripture where you're going to get the entire range of human emotion in one place, it's the Psalms. So there's Psalms of joy and praise and celebration, but there's Psalms of deep lament and almost like shaking your fist at God. Since we're in church, we wouldn't do anything beyond that. But I mean, there's Psalms of lament where you're really crying out to God and questioning even where are you, God? And so we've experienced already in the first 6 months of 2020 a wide range of emotions, and a lot of them have been very heavy. And so we said, let's go to the prayer book of God's people. Let's go to Psalms and explore the words that God has given us, really to speak back and pray back and even cry back and yell back to Him. And so that's where the idea of Summer in the Psalms came from.
Yeah.
So you asked how long we'll be in it. We will be in it for the entire summer. So the whole month of June, July, and I think about half of August.
Let's do half of August.
Yeah.
That sounds good.
So it'll be about 10 weeks, I think, about 10 weeks that we'll be in. So we started last weekend. This upcoming weekend will be week 2, and we're going to try to pick a range of the Psalms. So they won't all be lament Psalms. They won't all be Psalms of praise, but we're going to get a variety of different kinds of Psalms.
Well, maybe a challenge, and I don't think we've talked about this, but gosh, yeah, if we're going to spend about 10 weeks and 7 days in a week, 70 days, I'm really good at math here. You could read 2 Psalms a day at home if you wanted, and you would kind of get through, or maybe a third if we're with the process here, and you could get through the book of Psalms as we go through it with our series on Sunday. Jim Docks asked the question, and kind of our next topic here would be the Tuesday communion. I just want to review that, and what's the process? What's the time? Is it just this Tuesday? Is it ongoing? What's all the logistics for that?
Tuesday communion. I've talked to a lot of our people who say, I'm not ready to come into a gathering of 35 or 100 people, but I'm longing for communion. And so we'll have a communion open hours from 1 to 4 on Tuesday, starting next week, the 16th. And we're going to do that through the month of June and kind of assess, is that meeting people's needs? Is that helpful? So when you come, there's no need to sign up for an appointment. We're going to have various stations. Our pastors and even a vicar and a seminarian or 2 will be stationed so that we can handle multiple groups who come at once. As an individual, a couple, or a family unit, and we'll be spread out. You'll be directed by a concierge to one of those stations. 1 to 4 o'clock on Tuesday, starting next week for June. Just stay tuned as we kind of reevaluate that. Is it helpful? Is it meeting a need? We'll re-up and reevaluate for the month of July.
And that's for both campuses. So we're just going to do it from here at Christ Memorial 1 to 4 on Tuesday. So people from both campuses can come to this location at 5252 South Lindbergh, to the Christ Memorial campus. So yeah, it's open to anyone.
We've all and I think obviously as Lutherans, with the 2 sacraments, communion is a big thing, the Lord's Supper, with what we believe, the means of grace, and how we do things. And maybe you guys will have that opportunity. I'm not sure exactly what the plans are for how you do the communion service, but since we have a few minutes before we wrap up for this evening, why is communion so important to us as Lutherans, and why is it, what's the benefits for us as Christians and followers of Christ? Why do we hold this in such high regard? Kind of put you guys on the spot with the catechism.
Good. By the way, this fire is hot.
Yeah.
It's hot.
Well, it's kind of cold outside.
Yeah, it's chilly outside. Gotta gather around the fire. I remember Easter and Mother's Day when we had our drive-in service. There were people, some of you maybe, were driving by, and we got to kind of wave on the sidewalk as you went by, and there were people weeping because you got to see somebody. And we didn't quite get to touch, but we got to see somebody. And I know some of you have talked even about, I have broken social distancing a couple of times to give somebody a hug. That touch is so important, and I think physical touch we're all missing. Well, communion is just based in that incarnational, like a touch of God that he's willing to you can taste and touch him. And so I think God knows that we're like children. We need object lessons. And so he attaches himself in his word to these very tangible elements. And I think that's why it's so important. And why we've been missing it for 3-ish months is because we've been missing touch in general. So I think we'll experience the Lord's Supper, I think, in a new way in the coming weeks.
Yeah, I would agree. And I think the reason that it's important is because God's words are powerful and they do what they say they're going to do. And so when he attaches his promise to that bread and that wine, those very real physical elements, it does something real spiritual inside of us. And so it's important because it's not just about the wafer and the wine, but it's about what God is doing, what he promises to do, which is bring his forgiveness and his presence to us. But then also it's that gathering. And that's part of the reason why we decided to do what we did in just fasting from communion during this time while we weren't physically gathering. We believe that that part of it is that we do it together with the group of believers, the body of believers. And so it'll be good to both get together physically, but then also receive physically God's body and blood.
Well, that atonement, that forgiveness for our sins, the things that we cannot make right with God on our own. You know, we can be as good as we want, we can try to achieve as much as we want, or whether it's money, status, power, whatever those things are, that's not going to reestablish that relationship with God because of sin. And one way we get to do that is, we can do that through prayer and ask for forgiveness. We have confession and absolution regularly in our worship services, but then also, like you said, that tangible element of the body and the blood and the wine, the body and blood of Jesus to receive that forgiveness. So definitely a powerful thing, and it's going to be exciting to do, whether you're able to join us this weekend or join us on one of the upcoming Tuesdays. Really looking forward, I think, to do that again and partake as the body of Christ. Closing thoughts, comments. Oh, I know one thing I did think of as we were talking about this. We are working at a way to, we communicated to our second year confirmation students that are going into 8th grade. We're working, and we've sent out for that. Then they're gonna go through some of the stuff we've just talked about. Where we're gonna explain to them communion here in July, and then they are gonna be able to have their first communion in July. And so something that we've been able to do with our camp, and we've had to make some changes there for this summer, but that's just another way that we're able to train in and explain, but then also encourage the faith of that next generation of believers and students in our church through that confirmation project. And I don't know about you guys, but I remember my first communion and that experience, and definitely a powerful day and moment, for a holy moment is what we call it for these families and for these confirmands.
I think to close, maybe a couple dates that we've been just circulating.
Oh, yeah.
June 28th, that's this month, the 28th, Matthew Bowman, son of our congregation, will be ordained here at 2 o'clock. Now, we're going to have to limit that. It's not going to be a come one, come all. We're also we plan on live streaming it as well, so that you can participate, you can watch. But I just want that on your calendar for your prayers, and stay tuned for further details as we are kind of adapting how best to execute that ordination on the 28th. But we're proud of Matthew, and we're ready to send him to Holy Cross Lutheran Church in Wichita, Kansas. He'll start there in July. And then Pastor Paul Dickerson, Pastor-elect Paul Dickerson, he is, what did he call it, Pastor Bobby, kind of going dark right now? He's kind of...
Yeah, he is dark.
Dark. Don't contact him.
Yep. He's ghost protocol.
Ghost protocol. Paul Dickerson, a little time with his family, settling the home. They're going to visit family in Michigan. He had intended to be ordained in Michigan this weekend, but Michigan is a few weeks behind us, and things just aren't opened up yet. In fact, his home church is not gathering and not planning to gather for worship. So unfortunately, he will not be ordained there, but still going there to visit family. He will be ordained and installed at our church on our South Lindbergh campus on July the 19th. Is that right?
Yep.
July 19th, 4 o'clock. So just put that in your calendar. And again, we're not quite sure what that looks like. We're not planning more than 2 weeks out at this point. We'll see what that service looks like.
Someone was asking about the Love Scent in October. It's like we just don't have an update at that at this point. We're planning to do that.
I don't know what we're doing tomorrow,
That's
so,
that's
yeah.
too far off for us, unfortunately.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're gathering in worship this weekend. That's about as far as we.
Yeah, we got to
That's about as
assess
far
how
as
that
we got.
goes, and a lot of stuff there. So great. Well, we really appreciate you guys for joining in and getting updated. And I know we can't see you guys, but it's great to be able to connect. And looking forward to connecting with those who are able to be here this Sunday. But also just continued prayers for those who aren't going to be able to join us this weekend. But that whenever you do that, we'll be here and we'll be excited to see you. And again, we've also got the communion on Tuesday up here from 1 to 4. So,
Yeah.
That was good.
cool.
Thanks for joining us.
Yep. Have a great night. And we're back next Tuesday, and we'll talk
Next
about
Tuesday, 7 o'clock.
talk about
Stuff.
race and whatever other stuff we're going to talk about. So, all right. See ya. Have a good night.